I've just found myself standing in my daughter's sweater, and I will explain you why a little bit later. Today I'm going to record my second podcast episode, and I'm going to share a few my completed needs, show you my work in progress, talk about my new design which I'm working on now. Very briefly I will mention about two new published designs and share a few useful tips which I developed while I was knitting my samples. So we will start shortly as soon as I switch to my adult size sweater. One moment. Hello again and welcome to my second podcast episode. My name is Tatiana and you are on my channel Knitting with Vitalina Craft. So, and first of all I want to tell a few words about a sample which I just tried on myself. This is my quiet season sweater, the second sample which I completed for my 12-year-old daughter. I haven't weaved in any yarn ends yet because I just finished it last evening, and I absolutely happy how it's turned out. When I was designing this sweater, I paid a lot of attention to the fit. You might notice that many sweaters which have European shoulder knitted with shorter front and much longer back. This is normally happens because of construction and how sweater is calculated, how it's shaped. Because for the correct shape, the front and back should be the same length unless it's a design feature. When I knitted my original sample, I had the same situation and I call this problem because if you knit a sweater, you want it to look nice, you want to front and back be the same or very close to each other. Of course, it's nice to have sweater with longer back, but it's the case when you design the sweater with longer back. I learned a lot about this construction because it was my very first design with European shoulder. I learned about this. I tried a few times. I calculated and recalculated, and I adjusted the construction the way I like it, the way the front and back has have the same length. I created a good shape for neck, which doesn't move back when you wear it, and nice dropped shoulder. So yeah, that's it about this sample. I'm going to wash it. I always wash my knits and block after I knit them. This is main rule for myself, and so let's switch to another one. So my second finished project is my quiet season sweater as well for my son. I knitted this one with my leftover yarn. I am not so happy how it's turned out because my my main idea was to add some stripes, but to keep cuffs and bottom band of the body with the same color. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough light gray yarn, so I finished with cuffs in blue. I think it looks nice this way too, but I'm not 100% happy. What I wanted to say about this sweater, looks like I developed new method of knitting sleeves, because I'm the person who loves knitting two similar parts at the same time. I mean two sleeves, two front parts of cardigan, or whatever you call this. So I started knitting sleeves for this sweater with magic loop, but I'm not big fan of magic loop method too, because all those slipping stitches, moving cord from one side to another, it just slows me down and I don't like it too. What I decided to do, I took another circular needle the same size and started knitting few rows on one sleeve and few rows on another sleeve. So it was like knitting one stripe on one needle and then the same stripe for the second sleeve on another needle, then switch back. And so you still spend some time on moving between needles and between sleeves, but at least you don't need to slip stitches from one side of needle to another. It speeds up my knitting a little bit. Talking about this stripy sweater, I wanted to show you how I compensate or actually fix this joke, which is usually happens when we are changing from one color to another when knitting in the round. This is how my wrong side of knitting looks in process. I do not cut the yarn in process, or do not hide or fix yarn ends yet. I leave quite long loops of yarn while moving main or contrast color up from stripe to stripe. When my sweater is completed, or at least a few stripes are completed, I can start fixing this joke, adjusting stitches and hiding my yarn ends. But before I show you how I do it, I'd like to explain what leads me to my method of fixing joke at the end of knitting and not in the process. If we look at knitting in the round from technical point of view, we move the yarn up a bit at the beginning of each round. It changes the shape of last stitch of the last round a little bit and tighten it. But we can't see this change when knitting with just one color. However, when we start knitting stripes and changing colors from time to time, our eye can notice this shift and some deformation of stitches. When we are drawing yarn up from stripe to stripe behind the knitting, we tighten and changing stitches even more. And also we pull the stitches slightly up. So we start to see this difference even better. In ideal situation, to keep all stitches even and without any deformation, we need to start every round with a new piece of yarn and make a knot joining beginning and end of each round. It's not practical, but what we can do is to start each stripe with a new piece of yarn. So my idea is to knit each stripe with a new yarn and then adjust beginning and end of first and last round of stripe by leveling stitches a bit up and down. So what we actually need to do, we need to make sure that that our both yarns are at the same level. So we need to move those stitches slightly down and bring blue stitches slightly up. If we're looking at our wrong side, our yarns need to be tightened a little bit, and because blue yarn is over top, this end should go to the strand of light yarn from the top down, and the light gray yarn should go to the blue stitch from the bottom up. So what I'm actually doing, using my tapestry needle, I'm making stitch, trying to fix my yarn, and I do the same with the blue yarn. It goes from right side to the next stitch of light color, and you can see it's moving to the position. No more gaps or steps or whatever you call it. So my next step, I'm making knot, so you can see, and waving in my yarn. I do the same with the light color yarn. I will hide it in light gray stitches. Now I need to repeat the same steps for my second pair of yarn ends. So here I'm going to cut my yarn in the middle, my next project which I'm working on is simple beanie hat and the matching scarf. I completed the hat. It's quite simple, but I made a beautiful crown shaping for this. You can see the hat can be worn with single folded H-band or brim, or you can roll it a little bit more with double folded brim to make your hat a bit shorter but warmer, which is really great for UK, especially for February and March. So the crown is a little bit pointy, but if you need the hat shorter, which is totally adjustable, you can have a proper fit around your head. Actually, I always wear my hats quite close to my eyes, hiding my brows. So it's lovely hat. And now I want to make a matching scarf. As you guess, the matching scarf for hat in ribbon, scarf in ribbon. But what I want to make, I want to make the scarf with those pointy ends which are now popular and in trend. I tried quite a few stitches, or I tried to develop quite a few stitches to shape the scarf, starting from 6 stitches and making it wider up to desired width. Honestly speaking, it's quite complicated process because I've got some idea in my head, but there is no stitch or pattern exist for this idea, so I have to develop something, and it feels like some kind of puzzle where I need to knit every row, then draw every row, see how it goes, if it works, if it's beautiful, or I have to start from the start and try to move stitches around other way. So I already unraveled my sample quite a few times, already created a few stitch charts. I spent for this quite a few evenings, and I've got another work in process with a little bit different stitch. It's starting to look nicely, and I think it will be double-sided scarf. And I need my set, you can say set, in soft tweed mix from Drops. I already used this yarn for my poncho last year. Yes, I think it was last year. It's very soft decay weight yarn, and I knitted a few hats with this yarn as well, and my kids love it. So it's lovely soft non-itchy yarn for kids. So if you're looking for some yarn which is nice for kids, I can recommend this one for you. Again, this is Drops soft tweed mix. It comes in very pretty natural shades. Some of them quite light and some are bold. So this is another process I'm working on. I really hope to finish off this project by the end of next week, and probably open a test knit for the whole set. So if you're interested, let me know. Yeah, it's all about this project. And my next project is I decided to start a pair of socks for my husband. Oh, my hair looks a bit messy after trying on my hat. So I'm started knitting a pair of socks for my husband, and at this time I'm not working on a new design. I decided to knit another pair of my trimetry socks. This is my pair. It looks quite small, but I really love this stitch, which looks like tiny cables, but those are not cables, it's twisted stitches. It's very easy and pretty stitch. So I knitted socks for my husband, and in beautiful dark petrol color. This is yarn budget friendly. It's Drops North mix in color 9. It's lovely, soft, beautiful yarn, and my original socks knitted with 1x1 ribbon, but for my husband's socks I decided to knit 2x2 ribbon. I feel that 2x2 ribbon is stretchier than 1x1 ribbon. It stays in good shape for longer, and I generally don't like 1x1 ribbon. I've got difficulty when transition from needle to needle when knitting socks. I don't have this problem when I knitting hat or something else in the round, but knitting with double pointed needles is not my favorite part. But when I switch to flexible double pointed needles, it helps a bit to improve my knitting. So my previous pairs of Trimetry socks I knitted with hand-dyed yarn in orange and in off-white. I would say this off-white color with a bit of gray speckles. So what I noticed about hand-dyed yarn, of course I'm not talking about all hand-dyed yarn because I tried very few, but if you knit socks with them, be ready to have faded soles part. This is my very first sample which I knitted with hand-dyed yarn, and the top part looks much brighter than my soles. The situation even worse if you knitting with dark bold colors, like I knitted one socks for my husband with rich blue shade, and after few washing his socks were still nice and bright on the top, but very light here, which I don't like. And I don't know if it was unlucky hand-dyed yarn, maybe something was wrong with the process of dyeing of yarn, or I don't know. But now I decided to start knitting socks with yarn manufactured by big companies. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, I need more statistic because I haven't knitted many socks. I started knitting socks pretty recently. Also, I want to mention that if you are looking for yarn for your socks, make sure that the yarn has a bit of synthetic in it, or nylon or polyester, because I already knitted a pair of socks, of those Trimetry socks for my husband, in beautiful, very beautiful bright violet color, and the yarn was specified as a sock yarn, but he could wear them just for a few weeks and they were completely destroyed. When I tried to find what was wrong, it was the yarn. Despite the yarn was specified as a sock yarn, it was 100% merino. I still got another skein of this yarn in my stash, and honestly speaking, I just don't want to do anything with it because it's not suitable for socks, but I can't use it for anything else because I bought this for socks, and it's not my color for anything else. So we'll see. Maybe I would be able to add this yarn as stripes to another project. I think it's all I wanted to say about my finished objects and about my working process. I don't have many projects on the go because I try to keep them to minimum. And now I want to say a few words about my recently finished patterns. I already mentioned about them in my previous episode, but since this episode I managed to publish my patterns, and as you can guess, the first project is my quiet season sweater. The pattern was tested, it was published, and it's written for sizes from toddler to teen. As you noticed, the teen size can be knitted for medium size adult because the sample I tried on, it was for my 12-year daughter. But as I said, it should be oversized sweater, but if you do prefer closer fit, you can try child sample. But I'm going to start working on adult sample very shortly. Hopefully I will share some process or some progress in my next episode. So pattern is on Ravelry and on Lovecraft, and the second published pattern is my Twilight poncho. Pattern for Twilight poncho is written for sizes from toddler 3-5 years up to adult size, and it's size inclusive. The pattern is very easy to knit because it has very detailed row by row instruction, and it also has a special row sheet which shows crosses of cables, which shows place where you need to do any decrease, increase, any shaping, cast on stitches, cast off stitches. So absolutely every step is written down in pattern instructions and in this row by row sheet where you can track your progress. Poncho is designed for super bulky yarn, so it can be completed very fast, and you can make a very warm and comfortable garment for yourself or for your child. So have a look at this. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed watching my video and found some useful knitting tips which you are going to use. I hope to share my new episode very soon, or maybe new knitting tutorial. Let me know if there is any particular design which you have question about or want me to make tutorial for any tip or any stitch or any technique. I will be happy to do so. And until next time, happy knitting!